Hello and welcome back to the 3D Amateur channel. Today we're finally going to be building the enclosure for our USB hub, and we're going to be wiring it in to the power supply of the 3D printer. To do this I have all the necessary bits and pieces. We have some wire, we have some attachments to crimp to the wire, and of course a wire crimper. We have a selection of bolts and washers to attach the little hole in here into the housing, and we have some neodymium magnets which are 6mm by 2mm to attach the housing to the power supply of the printer, and of course a digital multimeter to make sure that we're not connecting anything the wrong way and blow ourselves up. So all of this I've got from Amazon, and I will leave links in the description for all of it. But before we use any of this and get to the fun part, we do need to design the enclosure. So the first thing we're going to need to do is go back to the Amazon page for this, and it has a lovely image of all the dimensions on here that we're going to use to design the housing. So let's head over to there. So this is the diagram I've downloaded from the Amazon page, and it has all of the dimensions -3 already here for us to work with. The only ones it's missing are the 2 rear holes, the centre hole and the height. The 2 rear holes are 2mm, the centre hole is 3mm, and the height is 20mm. So we've got to work within that, maybe add a little bit extra height, because I would like to add a slide off plate at the top, so we can easily access the internals and attach everything, but also so that if I decide to change the branding of my printer away from Aperture Science, I can also redesign a new cover for it. So we will incorporate the Aperture Science logo onto the top of the unit as well. So with that in mind, let's move this to one side so I can refer to it while designing in Tinkercad. Okay, so I came across a slight problem. The measurements on here say that this is 8.39. So building to that measurement, measured these with a set of calipers at 15.5 each, then put the 8.39 in, then there should be a little gap plus the 2mm that I've used for the walls. But when I group these together, so if I regroup that, there's a gap here, and I couldn't figure out why. So this is why you should never trust diagrams. So I then actually measured the gap between the two, and this gap here is not actually 8.39mm. This gap is actually 6.2mm. So that is where the additional 2mm that is messing with this and going into my walls came from. So again, the importance of measuring, don't just rely on something where a diagram tells you this is the measurements, because this could be very, very wrong, and in this case it pretty much is. So I'm going to make sure to measure everything that I've done so far, and ensure that all of these pieces here for the 2 little holes at the back and the little bit in the middle are actually in the right places, because the last thing I want to do is get to the point where this is complete, print it, and then nothing fits. So yeah, don't ever fully trust something like this. Always make sure that you have some sort of measuring tool to measure it yourself, and then you're better off trusting that reading. So I'll crack on with designing this. I just thought I'd share that little bit of insight with you, because again, if I'd relied purely on the measurements on the diagram, this would not work. So right, let's crack back on with it. Right, so I think we are done. We have our case here with the connectors to drop everything into, the holes for the power supply, the holes for the USB, and we have our lid, which will actually go the other way around. So let me flip that. Yeah, so it'll go that way around. We'll have the Aperture Science logo on the front here where the USBs are coming out of, and we'll have the 4 holes there just for a little bit of additional airflow. So once on the printer, it will sit this way round, not that way round. It will sit that way round, there we are, with the USB ports facing up, and then the power supply coming down, and then directly into the printer power supply. And then this will be the same, so this will be that way round, and will sit in here, and should just be quite a simple slide kind of in, and then gravity should hold it in place. And then that should be it. I'm actually quite excited for this. I think everything should work. So I'm going to do a quick test print of this bottom piece. So I'm going to cut it in half, export it, and make sure that the holes are definitely all in the right place. The holes for the power supply and USB ports are all in the right place. So let me undo all of this rotation. And then I'm just going to very quickly add a hole in here. Oh, wrong one there. That one. And we're going to put that over the top of here. And I'm just going to cut off most of the top of it. So it will make for a very simple print. And then I can just test everything works. So if I just group them two together, I can basically print that and make sure that all of these line up as they should. And then, if that works, I will do obviously a quick test fitting, and if that works, we'll print the full model. So let's head over to Cura and get this sorted, and we'll start the test print. So there we have it. Immediately, the one thing I did notice is that these pieces in here broke off immediately. They're way too small and not worth the hassle. This also I don't think is going to be good enough for a screw to go into. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the design slightly, and I'm going to make this solid, and I'm going to make these bigger and solid so that the USB hub just rests on them rather than using them to go through the holes and hold it in place solidly. The main reason I've decided to do that is when I fit this into here, it is a very, very tight fit. So it should hold it in place without me needing any additional support, but I will still probably glue it to the bottom of here anyway. It does work perfectly in how I intended, so I've made it so that the USB piece is actually indented to begin with, and then once I've pushed it into place, I can slide it up slightly to make sure that they are flush with the edge. And that has also perfectly printed to give me a perfect design there. So I'm very happy with that. I'm very happy with the fitment. I may need to make it ever so slightly bigger, ever so slightly wider, but only by say maybe 0.1 mil, and then it should slide in a little bit easier, and then I can use some hot glue to just hold it down in the corners and on this piece here at the bottom here. So that should all work. The only last thing I need to test fit is the 4 magnets. So let me remove that and we'll get some of these magnets out. So these are very, very tiny magnets, but they should each be able to hold up to around 1/2 kilogram. So 4 is probably overkill, but we will see. And then these should press fit into here, which it does not look like that. Oh, there we go. It does not look like they will. So I will probably need to make these holes a little bit bigger as well. So yeah, again, need to make them slightly bigger, but otherwise everything is good. So this is why I did the test print. I didn't want to print out a whole piece and then it be incorrect, especially as I have very little ESUN PLA left. So I'm going to make them changes and then we'll get ready to print. So there we have it. Everything has been printed. Now what I've got to do is remove the supports and start building. So I will see you on the other side. Okay, so we are back. I have rewired this so it's nice and tight and there's no stray wires that may cause any shorts. So that's all sorted and wired up correctly now. I have tightened up these as this is now perfectly fine as is. And I have found a solution to the fact that I've tried to attach magnets to a aluminium frame. It's not the best solution in the world, but it will do for now. So luckily I had two, I believe they were 3mm screws that can go in here that are made of steel. So it now connects on. So that will hold when it's in the vertical orientation, as it is going to be here. And again, these two will hold onto the back of the frame, and this will now be on the back of the printer. So I said not ideal, but it does hold, and all it's going to need to do is hold that there once the cables are plugged in, which it should do absolutely fine. Obviously it'll fall off to the side, but if I'm using the top two holes and it's holding down that way, I shouldn't have any problems for now. We will find a more permanent solution to this at some point, but not today. So now this is all working. We'll do one last test before I actually seal it up with the case. So let's pop this back in, turn it on, we get the light, and let's make sure we've got power. Perfect. So with that all done, we should now be able to slide this over the top here, and that will give us, oh actually, should I do it the other way so we can see the light? That would be pretty cool actually. Would help if I had this in camera. So we can see the light through the grill, or shall we have it this way? I honestly don't know. I suppose if the whole point of this is ventilation, it would make sense to have it more where there's more air. So I think we will do it this way. And we'll still be able to see kind of in there. We can still see through the front there whether the light's on or not, so that will be fine. So with that now closed up, still probably a little bit too wide there. I maybe should have taken a little bit more off, but that is perfectly fine by me. We now have a lovely little enclosure for our USB hub that works. So next step is now to get all of this unplugged again and connected back up to the 3D printer, as well as getting the fan back on, which makes such a difference. Can you hear that? I'll see if I can pull the mic a bit closer. That fan silencer really works wonders. So yeah, we'll get that all connected, and then we'll head back over to the printer, and we'll get everything wired up to it, like the lights for the enclosure. So I will see you over there in a moment. So there we have it. The printer is back in place. The USB hub is attached to the back of the power supply, and now when we turn on the power, we should have light. So let's give this a go. And there we have it. As soon as the printer's turned on, the lights come on, and they're all connected in without the use of a separate USB plug. So now that we have a USB power supply that has 4 ports on it, one of the ports is being used by the lights, but that means we have 3 more ports to play with. So the next project, hopefully, should be the Raspberry Pi. And we'll get the Raspberry Pi case set up, we'll get octo-print installed and Octo-Lapse installed, and then we'll print the holder for the camera, and we should have all of that connected. So yeah, if you're looking forward to that, then you can always hit that subscribe button, and if you ring the bell, you'll be notified about any new uploads. If you did like this video, then please by all means leave a like, and if you have any comments or anything you'd like to add, then leave a comment below. But I hope you've enjoyed watching, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you very much. Take care.